Hello, everybody. This is Lynn from Yoga Story, and I am here today with Lee Williams. You say hello to everybody, Lee.
Hey, I'm here. What's left of it?
Still going strong. So Lee is on the podcast today, and we're talking about this new season. We're going to be talking to folks in the community about their yoga stories and essentially just how yoga has played a part in their life story. And since we know yoga is more than just the poses, it'll be all aspects of yoga. And Lee was a member of Yoga Story from way back when, call those folks the OGs, the original gangsters of Yoga Story. So I've known him for quite a while, and I'm really excited to have you here. We finally got coordinated on our schedules.
Well, yeah, I've been surprised being retired, how busy I've been since I
Visited my parents, and my best friend's parents were their best friends, and hence why I became best friends with their daughter. But they said the same thing. They were like, I don't understand how I had time to work.
Exactly.
Good. I'm glad that keeps you healthy. But so we're going to talk a little bit with Lee today. And first, just like tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Midwest City, Oklahoma. I was the fifth child of seven. Uh, I was the fourth boy
Mm-hmm.
and the youngest boy. And my father was a sharecropper when I was born.
Okay.
And the bottom fell out of the sharecropping market. He had to go to town and get a job, and we wound up in Midwest City.
Okay.
And that's that's went to high school at Midwest City High School, graduated from high school, uh, went directly into the Marine Corps. I spent 3 years in the Marine Corps, one tour in Vietnam, and got out of the Marines and I didn't do much for a year, and then I went to college, where I met my wife, and I'm still married to her to this Marcel.
The wonderful artist.
Yes, 56 years we've been married,
Oh, fantastic.
and but anyway, I was I was probably a loner, and after Vietnam, I and an incident or two, I didn't really want to be around people. So I lived in rural communities mostly, but I did work as an electrician for a number of years and finally went back and finished my degree. I laid out for 20 years. I told everybody I got lost in the 60s.
I think
And
a lot of people did.
but I was working in oil and gas at that time, and I started at the bottom and realized I was going to have to go back and get some education if I was ever going to go any further. And I did. And then I wound up working international and worked in China, South America, and Africa.
Where'd you get your degree in?
I got my degree at Phillips University in Enid, Oklahoma. Went to night school for 5 years. I had basically 162 hours when I got my bachelor's degree. And I told, I always say anybody can do it in 130. But anyway, because
been an
I
overachiever.
was a history major the first time, and business was what I needed. And so I got my degree in business and was able to take it from there and wound up retiring as the vice president of operations of a midstream energy company.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
So did you traveled all around the world? What was your favorite country that you visited?
Oh,
Can you pick a
just uh, I was fascinated by Hong Kong.
Uh-huh.
At the time, the communists hadn't taken full control at the time, and and then I spent a day or two in Europe in different times, flying back and forth when I was working in Africa, and of course my youngest daughter married an Englishman, and we spent quite a bit of time going to England back and forth. I liked England, but in oil and gas, they find oil and gas not in the nicest places.
Right.
And
Not in the middle of urban
no,
cities.
no. Africa was on an island called Bioko Island, part of Equatorial Guinea, and it looked better at night when they turned the lights off.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, but yeah, I did enjoy working in China. The Chinese young men that we were training were very nice young men, and so I enjoyed that, and I guess I traveled far enough.
Yeah.
Other than I did retire in 2016, and but that would probably lead me into what led me to yoga.
Well, that's the next question. How and when did this thing called yoga enter your life story?
Well, I was working in Tulsa, Oklahoma for that energy company. And we had actually already moved here because I thought I was going to retire and then they wanted me to stick around for a while. And so I lived in an apartment and would commute back and forth. And anyway, I was about 65 and I got to looking around at other people who were in their 60s, my age, especially military veterans. And we didn't look very good.
Mm.
And, we too much weight, too much alcohol, just whatever. And so I decided and I don't know, I can't honestly tell you why I picked yoga. It just, it sounded right for me. And so I started taking classes at the YMCA, and I'd take one class a week. And I'd work out some at the Y too. And
this was still in Tulsa.
Yes, still in Tulsa. And then after doing that for a month or two, I thought, well, they offer two classes at night after I get off work. So I started doing two classes. And then one day here in this area, I got to looking around, I was home for the weekend. I got to thinking, well, I ought to go do some more yoga. I was kind of liking it. And I stumbled into Cindy's class, hot power yoga. And I absolutely just fell in love with it.
Just so everybody knows, Cindy was the original owner of Yoga Story.
Yes.
And I purchased a Yoga Story from her in 2016. So I've had it since then, but 2010 to 2016 was Cindy.
Yeah. And so I just
was there with you. Yeah. So fell in love with it. Yeah.
And so I just started working on the yoga and after several years of doing it, one day I was talking to somebody, I was still commuting back and forth about, I thought about going to yoga teacher training, but, I don't want to do it on weekends. I want to do it all at once, and so I got to looking around at different schools and wound up looking at one in Costa Rica. And the lady who taught it had been a gymnast and had had back problems, and I had back problems. I hadn't had any. Later, I had some surgeries, but at that time, I hadn't had any. And so I decided to go to Costa Rica for a month. And one of the best times of my life. I really loved Costa Rica. And that was where, I had taken yoga, power yoga. And to me, it was good for my health, my body, and strength. But I really hadn't gotten into the mindfulness and all the more, what's the word I'm looking for?
Philosophical.
Yeah, that's right. I hadn't.
Yeah.
And when I realized when I went to a yoga teacher training, she started laying some of this stuff on me. I said, oh my God, I missed a bunch along the way, And so I had to work on it. But
well, I'd say back in the early days of the studio, we were really asana heavy, the poses, right. Because it was like the gateway. That's what got everybody in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we slipped the mindfulness in later.
That's right. And so anyway, I wound up going to yoga teacher training. And before I went, as a veteran, I I had prostate cancer,
Mhm.
and so I was disabled through the Veterans Administration. So I was using their medical and everything. And one day I was in a physical therapy class and got to talking to the gal who was doing the physical therapy, and told her I was going to yoga teacher training. I was going to Costa Rica. And she said, well, hey, when you get back, come see me. I can give you a job. And so, well, I took her up on it. And anyway, started teaching yoga through the physical therapy department 1 day a week. And then next thing I knew, another lady showed up and talked to me, Jean, who became one of my best friends. And she said, hey, could you think you could teach 2 classes a week? Well, yeah, I suppose I could. And it was basically, we started out with chair yoga
Mhm.
because they're all seniors. And anyway, it grew, and we had a room full. We had a small room, and it would get pretty full. And I guess I should say along that way, I decided I was going to go and check out Veterans Yoga Project.
Yes, yes. You and Tanya have been involved in Veterans Yoga Project.
And so I went for a weekend seminar, and it opened my eyes to a lot of the problems I had.
Hmm.
And
What examples do you care to give some examples?
I've had some PTSD incidents.
Okay, yeah.
I get all cherry-eyed when I think about it.
Well,
But
we freely encourage crying in yoga.
but it helped me see triggers
Hmm.
and things that triggered me into anger
Okay.
and anger management. And one thing about working with the veterans, you never know where they came from or what they've been through. And teaching that class, I found people who could never close their eyes.
That hypervigilance.
They could not relax to the point. They could not come to the point that I'm in a safe place.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of, when I would teach my class, it was an hour long. And to close the class, we would have a 5-minute mindfulness, relaxed on your mat or sitting, or in a chair, however you choose. And just, I would get out of my singing bowls and I would talk and play my bowls, and just getting them to relax and release and to be able to close their eyes.
That's huge, because I know that one of the underrated benefits and aspects of yoga and coming to a yoga class versus doing something at home is teaching yourself how to be in a space outside of your comfort zone.
Right.
Where you feel safe.
That's right.
Especially when you've experienced PTSD and trauma. Yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot of them came to that.
Yeah.
To where they could relax. And that was probably one of the biggest highlights of my teaching yoga. So anyway, I'm just old and a crybaby. I used to be a lot tougher.
Lee used to do the multiple push-ups.
Oh,
Class.
The
chaturanga, Lee did 10.
I've gotten to where I still do push-ups, but a lot of times I like doing them on the kitchen cabinet.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Scale it, right, yeah.
And so, or at a bit of an elevated spot, I can still crank out 10 regular push-ups, but that's about all I can go more if I elevate myself a little bit.
There you go.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the spiritual mindfulness, philosophical side of yoga,
Yeah.
because I know that's something here at Yoga Story, we really try to stay true to the fundamentals, even though we teach what we call creative vinyasa. It's not just Ashtanga or Iyengar, a set sequence. The teachers create these creative classes. But we really try to make sure that we weave in the pranayama, meditation, the different mindfulness aspects of yoga. But we're from Arkansas
Yes.
/ Oklahoma, and it's quite a bit of folks who have hesitation to practice yoga due to religious aspects. So, what is your take on that?
I'm going to. I used to work with a gentleman who was very religious, and I was doing the power yoga, and this, I don't want to offend anybody with what I'm going to say because he would give me a hard time, and I finally had to make him stop.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, he said, he'd give me this, well, that yoga, that's kind of a woman thing, isn't it?
Oh.
And I looked at him the day that I finally shut him up. I said, there's no place that I would rather be than in a room full of hot, sweaty women. And he never mentioned it again. But I had taken it, and I finally just had to be a little bit mean and just make him stop.
People have such the craziest notions because yoga originated as a practice only for men.
Yeah. Well, and there is, all religions have places where they merge. But some people think that, it's my way or the highway, and it's not. It's peaceful coexistence is what it is, and so we just, and I know in today's times, things are a little squirrely out there, but we all need to come together and acknowledge the fact that we're different, but it's okay.
Yeah. With that, we can say amen.
We could. And I have,
Namaste.
and I was big in the church for a long time too.
Yeah, me too.
I was at one time, I was the lay speaker in the Methodist Church, and I've preached messages on 3 different continents when I would go on mission trips and stuff. And I used to, when I was working in China, I would always take 3 or 4 extra Bibles in with me every time I went in. So I know that part.
Was it communist China? Was that
Yeah,
illegal?
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. And I would leave them around, and they would vanish, and I didn't try to preach to those guys.
Yeah,
I would
especially.
just leave them around, and maybe someone found them that found an interest in it, or maybe somebody found it and threw it away. Either way, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would quietly do that. And it was, I felt I was living the Christian life. And, it was one of those deals. I always said the reason it took, I was in my 40s before I ever started going to church. And so I was a late bloomer, but, I always said I didn't want to be one unless I could actually be one.
Yeah.
Not the so-called people who say they're Christians, but all they preach is hatred of.
Right. Yeah.
So, and that kind of drove me away from the church.
Can understand that.
Yeah.
So I know we talked a little bit about some physical limitations you're experiencing, but do you still feel like there's some aspects of yoga that you practice in your life?
Well, I do, because I am currently in a group of veterans, the Razor Vets.
Razor Vets.
And the Veterans Administration has their version of an Olympics for seniors. And so this year the events is in Tampa, Florida. And so they'll pay us to fly down there. And I'm participating in 5 events: table tennis, archery, air rifle, billiards, and free throw shooting.
Nice.
Yeah, and you have to, I don't know why they picked 5, but you can't go unless you participate in 5 events.
Okay.
And so anyway, but yeah, the guy who teaches us, who leads us, is a former Air Force guy who fractured his spine while he was on active duty and was discharged. And his story, Brad is probably, I think he's about 6'5", probably about 245 pounds. And his story is he once weighed almost 450 pounds, but now he looks like an NFL linebacker. So he puts us through our paces. We do some weights and a lot of balance stuff. All this, me included, I need balance. And then he does different aspects of yoga because he'll always yell at me, Lee, you go over there and stand in front of those guys and demonstrate these poses. And we'll go through some warrior poses and so forth. And then after the hour workout in the morning, I'll do a 30-minute meditation with some other guys there. And then we have a group meeting, and then we practice our athletic skills, our events. But yeah, it's, I was teaching yoga up till, of course, I had 2 back surgeries, and that took a space of my time out. And I went back and I started teaching again, but there are some debilitating issues that are following some of these things that I had done. And so I just couldn't do it anymore. But I tell everybody, try yoga, and maybe it's not right for you. That's okay, but do something.
Yeah.
Keep moving. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to keep moving.
Yeah. So looking back on the past few decades in your yoga practice, what would you tell someone who's interested in yoga, but they might feel intimidated, unsure, are not certain what benefits that they would get from a yoga practice?
Well, at first I would tell them how to get them started, tell it what it meant for me. And everybody is different. And so it may affect you in different ways, but give it a try. I think you'll like it. If you don't, keep moving.
Yeah.
And of course, doing the power yoga in the old studio and everything, I had a nephew of mine who was an NCAA All-American, academic All-American swimmer. Big, tall, good-looking kid, built like a swimmer, broad shoulders, narrow hips. And he came up, he was about to graduate. He went to school at Arkansas Baptist, Washita Baptist. And he was going to come up and see about some job interviews and so on and so forth, and call me and ask if he could stay with me. And I laughed because when he used to compete in Tulsa, he and my brother would use my apartment and stay in my apartment, so they didn't have to commute back and forth. But I took him to a power yoga class, and we got there just a tad late. And so, I always like to get up front. Because there's less distractions. You're not looking at everybody else's movement.
Sweaty women in the room.
I'll be honest, I went to the front. But anyway, here's this kid, he's in shape, and after an hour of that, and he was right behind me because that was what we could get to, right? And he called his mom and he said, "Mom, you should have seen Uncle Lee." Said, "I thought I was in shape." Of course, it was just different stuff.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, I couldn't do the swimming that he could do,
All these videos
but
on Instagram where they have these big, huge, muscly guys coming in. They can't do a yoga class or a Pilates class. And they're like, yeah, but could we really take some of those people and do what they did?
that's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it gave him a whole new respect
Mhm.
for yoga.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just try again if someone asked me about it, and Celeste,
Your daughter.
my daughter, comes to Yoga Story, and she loves it, and then again, oh, come on, having a senior moment here. A young lady who was in my VA class,
Tanya.
Tanya.
Yeah, she's still, oh yeah, she was here.
Tanya Richter.
Yeah.
I told her, I said, okay, come with me and let's go up here. And
Now she's here every single day.
that's it, And when she first walked into my yoga class, I don't know, she and I just clicked, some people that just happens, and just I knew that she put her mind to it, she could be a yoga teacher,
She's for training too.
I know.
Yeah.
So,
Also a Marine.
but anyway, Tanya, and then I was, when I came to this studio, I made a lot of friends, ladies that mostly ladies that we just formed bonds just going in and doing yoga together and just chatting and everything. And again, like I said, I've always been kind of a loner. And so it actually brought me a little closer to other people. Yeah.
Well, you'll be happy to know there are more men now that come. And we still have those same chatty, wonderful women.
Yes.
In the community.
I need to come on Saturday mornings and take his class.
Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Hale.
Here.
Yeah.
But Jim's been here longer than anybody, including me.
Well, he would teach a class that I could probably do most of it. And then if it was something I couldn't do, I would just do something else while everybody else was.
That's what you do.
Yeah. And that's talking about yoga and everything and closing your eyes. Tanya once mentioned to me, said, I watched when I'd come up here and take a class or two from Jim, I watched you two close your eyes when you do poses. Yeah, we turn in. We don't let all the stuff that's going on around us bother us. We just come inside. And so I still love that aspect.
Yeah. Well, I thank you not only for your service, but for letting us be part of your yoga story and your life story, because it's impacted so many others. And that's ultimately what we want this place to be about.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for coming in and talking to me today.
Let me say one more thing.
Okay.
Remember, I started when I was 65. So all you out there in your 60s who think you can't do this, you can.
Yeah.
Just come take Jim's class, take a beginner class. And if you like it, stay. If you don't, go find something you like.
Stay a little longer and then go.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, you wait a few months to try it out anyway. Yeah, or longer. All right.
Thank you so much. I appreciate